Hey guys, I really do enjoy that intro music from Not Jay. Just dig it. Anyway, happy Friday. It's been a couple of weeks. Sorry about last week. Hello. I was traveling. Let me get her. Let me get her out of the way, guys. Yeah, she's been in like this all day. Yeah, I was traveling last week. I was up in the Bay Area. And just really busy. So I tried on Friday, but coming home from the office to my daughter's, it was like 3 hours. They were doing some emergency work on the road. So it just didn't happen. So I apologize for that. But this week, we got two new entries into the jam, which was pretty cool. Well, one last week and one this week. So we're going to go over those, at least at a very high level. It's a broken record, but I've been putting in a ton of hours at work, and it's going to continue for the foreseeable future. So hopefully I can get a chance to play some of the games this weekend. I'm going to make that a priority. But I do want to cover them, and we're 21 days away from the end of the submittal period. So I've got to myself hustle and get Draken done, and I'm sure we're going to see an influx of games come in. And yeah, I threw up a question. Are there too many games for a topic? And I just used the Bulge games because everybody knows there's a lot of Bulge games. And we'll start off with that, and then we'll get into the overview of the games, and then we'll get into Draken. I made some progress on it actually. But yeah, so this is the way the brain works. So you're going to get a stream of consciousness from me on this. I was on X and I saw a post, and let me bring that up because this is kind of what started the my train of thought. Oh, let me get this up on the other thing. Okay. Every week I'll get better at this, managing what we're doing here. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's just going to. It's going to drive me nuts. Move it, little girl. Move it. Okay. So it's going to share the screen. Sorry. There. I think you can see that. Let's see, I've got this up on another screen. Okay, so this was a post by my buddy Zilla, and he was at Circle DC last weekend. And what do we got here? Draken. Oh my goodness. So I had posted with mine. But what's funny about this, at least for me, is Vocal is also working on a Coast Watchers game, which I started one like 2 years ago. And I'm working on it. Now I'll share a screen on that in a little bit of what I'm trying to accomplish with it. And I don't know if he has another game between the Coast Watchers and the play testing of Draken, but I just started doing Draken, and I said, "Great minds think alike," and it got me thinking. And in no way am I like, "Oh, those are my ideas, and you're stealing my ideas." I mean, that would just be stupid, right? Nobody thinks like that, or maybe some people do. But the reason I again, train of thought, I started thinking about, well, clearly there's not a lot of games on Coast Watchers, and there's not a lot of games about World War I observation balloons. But at what point is there a point where maybe there's too many games for a certain topic, or there's enough games, whatever that might be? And we all have our own preferences to what we like and what we don't like, or game systems. But that was just kind of, for me, I was like, oh, interesting. And the point I think I want to make from this is, if you're a designer and you've got an idea for a game like the Bulge or D-Day or North Africa, do it. I don't think that there is a that's the long way to get to my answer. I don't think there is too many of any one topic in wargaming. How many Gettysburg games do we need? As many as we can make, because we all have our own way of expressing what we know about that particular conflict and how we want to design a system to kind of share what we're doing, right? Or what our thoughts are, or how we want to go about doing it. So I would encourage you as a designer to not let a topic that might be heavily done as a deterrent for you doing your version of it. So that's kind of my take on it. Now, as a consumer, you're going to go out and you only have so much money. You're not going to buy every game that's published. Well, most of us won't. And so you want to pick and choose. And so you might say, well, that makes it harder to decide which Bulge game you want or which Normandy game you want. And there's good games, all those, probably more than I can afford to buy on all those topics. So that's kind of my thought on that. I'm going to go to the comments here in a second and get caught up with that. I probably should have done that first. But just chew on that a little bit while I go through the comments. And I'd love to hear your guys' thought. As designers, do you let a saturated topic dissuade you from designing something on that particular topic? I gravitate towards what I wanted to design. I mean, I'm doing a World War I air combat game. There's only 1 million of those. And then I'm doing a Coast Watchers and the Draken game. And as far as I know, there's only 2 of each of those. So, anyway, let's go see who's in the chats. Oh my God, 2:57. Eric showed up. It's a bit early, boss. I was still working. Ptolemychus, bring me some more vodka. Okay, got you covered, boss. Some Hangar 1. Now, Hangar 1, I've actually been in. My father was in the Navy, stationed in Alameda, and this is actually made in the old Hangar 1 in the old NAS Alameda. He was in a squadron that was in Hangar 1 and Hangar 2, and I've been in both of those as a kid. So somebody I don't remember who got me this vodka, and I have not drunk it because of the fact that I've been in Hangar 1. It's a stupid reason not to drink it, but there you go. And then we got me saying whatever. Charles is in the house. Hi, Charles. Yeah, it looks like YouTube is autofilling for him. So Arts and Crafts Arabella, that was a channel that I'm working on doing, and I've changed the name subsequently, for my grandkids, where I do arts and crafts. I just happened to type in. I forgot that I had that name on that account. Not enough Bulge. Ptolemychus, Eric with not enough Bulge. I agree. Ptolemychus acquired, so I'm assuming you got your vodka, boss. The dice giveth, and the dice taketh. Blah blah blah. Taketh. Okay, I haven't drunk any vodka yet. I might. My Vegas drink is vodka and Red Bull. So, and I've got an empty glass here. So at some point I might, and it is Friday. I may try it. I'm not even going to try to get that word out now. I've slaughtered it. Now, Charles says, yeah, too many Bulge, North Africa, and Normandy D-Day games. Okay, Charles. Grumpy, maybe. Now, there are a lot, though. I mean, again, you're not going to buy them all. And so that could become a problem if you're trying to figure out, which ones you want to get. Eric says, not enough ancients. Yeah, and I think our buddy Richard would share that sentiment. And I think I've heard him make that comment many times. Okay. Vigilant. I already have too much Bulge. Now, one of the games is actually Vigilant's game, which is and we'll get to it in a minute. It's a World War I Christmas Day soccer match that actually happened in 1914. And so it's his take on that. And he put it on a Christmas card size. So I've seen some of the artwork on it on X, and it looks really, really good. So hopefully I can get it and play it over the weekend or during the week and comment on it next week. But yeah, I was glad to see that. That's pretty cool. And then Eric is just agreeing that he has too much bulge. Micah says, enough is when you, oh my God, I've had a week. Let me try this again. Enough is when an idea isn't improved upon, generally speaking, always exceptions. That's a good point. As I was saying earlier, we all, as designers, kind of have our own voice and maybe how we want to express a design for a topic. And yeah, if I did a game that was the same as somebody else's game, their system or very close to it, what's the point, right? I agree with that. If you want to do something, try to make it original if you can. Eric says you should design what you're passionate about, no matter the topic. I agree 100%. It's like, again, we're doing it. Dare I say, although we like people playing our games, a lot of times I think we're designing games for ourselves. At least I know that's what motivates me a lot of times. And maybe why I don't finish a lot of the designs, unfortunately, because I'm not driven to get it published per se. Of course, I would love that. But a lot of times it's just what entertains me. And sometimes it's not even the completion of the design. It's going through the process. Now, I'm going to get better and focus on getting some designs finished, because I do want to share them. I want other people to play them, because I do enjoy seeing people play games that I design. And I'm sure you guys do as well. It says, if you have fun, other people will too, most likely. Yeah, I kind of stole your thunder there with my explanation, but I think we're on the same side. Charles, just being difficult. No, boss, you're not difficult. You're just yourself, and I appreciate it and love it. That's who you are. That's what makes you special, boss. And he says, I'm in awe of game designers. Yeah, it's just to me, it's just another form of art, right? Or writing. It's creative. It's how I can express myself. And I like building things, and that's why I write code. And so for me, it's kind of that logical puzzle. And then when you can express it in a fun game and get there and have a good time and see other people play your game, especially when they get it, right? Sometimes you have an idea in your head of your design and how you see people playing it. And when you actually see people sit down and play it that way, for me personally, that is extremely fulfilling. At some point, I will talk about Mythic, which is my hunt for Bigfoot game. It's not a war game, clearly. Well, maybe not clearly, but it's not a war game. And I can talk about that because it does get into it. It's one of the best games I think I've ever designed. And it's very close to getting published. Charles, art. I got an F in art back. You know what? That's on your teacher. Or whoever it was, if they can't see the beauty in what you were doing and they gave you an F, they failed. That's the way I look at it. I mean, art is subjective. Now, if you were just disrupting class or something like that, maybe I could see it. But if you were putting the effort in, don't ever give a kid an F when they're doing art. That's destructive, in my opinion. Alrighty, I'm going to jump into the submissions here. Let me bring that up on the screen. Hold on. Oh, no. Let me remove that. I'll stop that screen. I'll bring up another screen where I already have it, and we can see the games that came in the last 2 weeks. Oh, looks like I'm going to have to do it this way. Okay. Alrighty, guys. So we've had I know we had somebody join today. We might have had, I don't remember what the count was last 2 weeks ago. And then 3 entries. We got Eric's game here. Vigilance game, or dude, your name, you spell it different ways and it always throws me off. I don't know why. It's not that difficult. And then Sebastian Bay, and he is the designer of Littoral Commander and I think Littoral Commander Pacific, which is going to be coming out soon, which is published by the Dietz Foundation. And he has a number of students who he's encouraging to submit their games into the jam as well. So that's going to be kind of cool to see. But excuse me. But on X, I kind of was on him about getting a design in, and so he got one in, and he did it like 18 hours ago. So I haven't had a chance to even look at it yet. So these two, I mean, let's take a look at this. I mean, look at this picture, guys. Look at that. That looks like a Christmas card. That really ties into the theme as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely gorgeous, dude. You did a really good job. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of these designs just blow me away. I don't know if you can see it. I clicked it and opened up another window. So if you, yeah, you could see it. I'm looking over at my other screen. And here's, I guess, an actual photo of them playing. That's so cool. You teach a little bit of the history. I love just the graphics on this, the look of it. Nicely done. Now, I'm going to ask a tough question. Does anybody know the score of that game? Does it matter? So during the weekend, I'll try to get it out, read the rules, and at some point, we'll see if we can get Vigilant to maybe talk about his game. If you want to in chat, boss, feel free. Okay, nobody needs to see that. Yeah, he really did. Yeah, Sebastian Bay is pretty neat. Now, one of the things I'm going to do with this show, and we'll see, the first iteration, I interviewed a number of designers. I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. And I'm not going to promise I'll do that this time around, but I'm going to try to. I've already had a conversation with Thomas Van Hare, and what we may do, because he's in Sweden and the time frame just doesn't work for a live, is I may get up late or get up early or whatever and just record it and then publish it in this time slot, but talk to him. He's got a lot of stuff coming out this year, and I think for a lot of us, he's kind of set a reachable bar if you want to self-publish, and he can talk about using Blue Panther to print his components and what he does with Amazon with his books, and the quality of his games and his designs are just amazing. And I know he's really doubled down, and we're going to see a lot more of his designs coming out. In fact, he's got another one that's going to hit supposedly any day, but he's a perfectionist as well. So he's going back and trying to make sure that everything is good before he releases his game, which, I really appreciate. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring this back up. Sorry, guys. So here's Sebastian's game. And there we go. So it's Pacific Theater and much more global. Looks much more modern. So I'm looking forward to diving into this. So what do we have? We got China, Taiwan. I do not recognize that flag. Korea, maybe North Korea. There's North and South Korea. Okay, I got to catch up on my history. But anyway, this looks very interesting, and he's a pretty sharp guy. So I'm really looking forward to see what this is about. Like I said, he posted it about 18 hours ago, and I did not get a chance yet to even read the intro. Just been busy. Hey, Hex, how's it going, boss? Good to see you, my friend. Oh, I'm not even showing I'm reading dude, I'm so out of whack. Like, I have not been sharing these. Sorry, guys. But yeah, get caught up and then X to Hex. Okay. I'm telling you, You don't do this for a little bit and you just forget the little things. Alrighty, so again, those are the 2 new entries. Like I said, I'll get a chance to play them next week. Okay. England won 1-0. I have no way to verify that. I'm going to trust you, boss. I have no way of knowing for sure. So let's talk just a little bit more about the too many bulges or too many games. If you guys had some thoughts, what was he saying? Thank you, sir. Yeah, we fumble along. That's why we're amateurs at this stuff, right? Don't make any money or attempt to. So just going through my checklist. Okay, cool. I'm going to do a fancy designs session. We're going to go in and take a look at a couple of things. And I need to get some music for this, I think. We'll see. I'll get better at it. So let's do this. I'm going to bring up, I have another screen. So let me just remove this one. Excuse me. I got a dry spot. Maybe I should put some vodka on it. That'll make it go away. So I'm going to share a design tool that I'm actually using on Coast Watchers. Okay. And I don't know if I've shared this before or not, but give me just a second. Excuse me. Wow. Okay. So what we have here is a tool called Twine. That's in the string. And it is used to create choose your own adventure style games. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a game. It could be a novel. It could be whatever. And so what I'm doing with Coast Watchers is I'm using this because I want to create this as a war game book game that you can get off Amazon. I'm going to put in some mechanics to deal with gameplay, but I want it to be very narrative and story driven, and it's going to be a choose your own adventure. So chapter 1 is the arrival. I'm going to go in here and add stuff and write it all out. And I'm not a very good writer at all, so this is going to be a bit of a challenge. But this is kind of the chapter 1. You'll forget, so I don't care if you see what's there now. But you're going to go to the island. You need to get onto the island, and you're going to work yourself through here till you get, whether you're safe alone, maybe you meet some of the local natives, dodge Japanese aircraft or a barge, canoe, meet an old friend. I've been going through and reading a number of books to see what types of things happened. Oh my God, sorry about this dry spot in my throat. And then I'm going to come up with getting settled in, running some missions, and then your departure. And I've got a bunch of thoughts that I've got written down on some other documents. And over here, if I can scroll over. No, it's been a while since I used this. Hold on. Yeah. So you might get a supply drop. And then everything that can potentially happen with that, I've got certain events, and I'm doing it at a very high level. And then what I'll do is I'll go in and I will flesh out the narrative. And then what's nice about this tool is I can visually see the flow of the game I'm designing. Now, I'm not going to play it. It comes up as HTML, and you can step through it as HTML files. And again, this is called Twine. So if you guys are looking to do some design along the lines of a choose your own adventure, it's free. I highly recommend that you go out and get a copy of it. I find it extremely useful. Okay, let's go ahead and stop that. Now, we've got, well, we're 25 minutes in, so let's go ahead and jump into the design aspects. Let me just check comments real quick. I played a lot of old Avalon Hill Stalingrad last weekend. A lot of these games have been designed as well. I had fun, old style design, but good time in my opinion. Yeah, they do. So Hex, I don't know if you heard the beginning of what I was talking about on the too many games. Was the point that I was bringing up is no, I don't think there are too many games for these topics. But as a designer, and especially if you're a new designer and you've got an idea for a game, don't let the fact that maybe a Bulge game or a Gettysburg game or whatever has been done a lot. If you've got an idea or a design, do it. Do what makes you happy. And if you do a good design, people love to see different mechanics and different approaches to topics that they know and love, because it just allows them another way of looking at it. And you might be able to touch on something in a way that was unique to other games that maybe highlights a different part of the battle or something along those lines. And it's your voice that you're bringing to your design. And so in that sense, I don't think that there's too many of any one topic for a game. Or let me rephrase that, too many games for any one topic. I think you know what I meant. And sorry to pause regularly due to kids. No problem, dude. Jeez. Well, not all of us have kids. I do. Yeah, it does. It's a free tool this guy designed. It's not a flow chart per se. There's actually a programming language to it, or I guess you want to call. I don't want to call it a programming language. More of a scripting language. And if I go into any one of those individual boxes, I can write text. I can put some conditionals. I don't know if I can roll dice or not. If I can, for what I'm using it for, I'm not going to do that. But again, for me, it helps visualize the overall story. And I can say, it's the classic, you walk into a room and you got 3 doors. Which one do you go through? Right. So you can do that type of thing. And then it allows me to visually see the schematic as I'm designing it and laying it out for play. And that way, if you forget, for testing as well, right? So it's like, oh, I forgot I had that branch going off, or what is it doing, or where is it going? You can visually see it. For me, that makes that process much easier. And what I plan to do is once I get Draken done, hopefully before the 20 days for the jam, I'm going to bring back onto the channel, or at least this show, Richtofen, because that's a game that just needs some love to get finished. And this working in this environment and talking with you guys really inspires me to get some design work done. So I'm, like I said before, I'm going to use this forum to get some feedback from you guys, hopefully help you with some designs, but also it gives me something to look forward to each week that I know I've carved out an hour to do some design. So we'll do Draken. I'll bring back Richtofen, and then I may, after that, I'll leave it open, but I'm looking at maybe Coast Watchers as well. And what was kind of cool is also, I'll bounce back to this real quick, is Voki, I always get his name wrong. Shame on me. He said he'd like to see the design when I got it done. So there's a little more impetus for me to finish up the design on Draken. Even though it's a simple push your luck game, he wanted to see what it looks like when it gets done, because he had asked for it, and I go, I haven't done yet. So that's going to help motivate me. And like I said before, I want to get some of these designs finished. There you go. Throws out a chance. So I got in on the latest printing of Most Fearful Sacrifice, so I'm really looking forward to that. And Hex, I still owe you a Gettysburg game that I'm hopefully going to get to this year. At some point I will. At some point I will, and I can clear my name. I know it's mud right now, but I will get it cleared. I'm going to play the basic one first. And what I did notice on that particular Gettysburg game is the basic game is nothing like the advanced game at all. But yeah, I'll get you caught up, my friend. Trust me. Hi, Stuka. Hey, I've really enjoyed some of your con videos that you've done. It's nice to see what's happening in Europe and other places. At least I think you're going to Europe. I'm trying to remember, but it's really cool to see some of those. And that one video you had with that other, I can't think of the game, but I did put my name on the list. I love the art in it, and I'm sorry I wasn't prepared to talk about it, but thanks for showing up. And then just some conversation amongst peeps on the channel. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into where my mind is and what I've been doing, and what design I did get done this past week with Draken. So let's go ahead and share that. There we go. Okay. So what I kind of done, and I'll start at the beginning here. I went in and I said, I decided you're not going to roll for an artillery spotting mission. Okay, let me real quick for anybody that might not kind of get caught up. This is my entry into the Postcards from the Front jam. It is you play as a German balloon pilot, or I don't know what their actual title was, in World War I. And it's a push your luck game where you're trying to gather enough information to thwart a British or French offensive. And I haven't tied it into any specific battle. This is not super historic as far as an actual battle. I'm not trying to represent anything like that. This is more of a simple game, again, that's push your luck, that's thematic around an observation balloon pilot. And so the game starts out, your Draken has 10 hit points. You're going to start off with a frontline reconnaissance mission. And I'll just kind of go over this very quickly. And if you get through that successfully, you're going to get to where you get an artillery location spotted, mission, which is where you're going to then be able to get your victory or loss conditions. So the game is 6 turns long. You start off with your balloon on the ground, and you're going to start raising it in height. And right now there's heights 1, 2, and 3. And as you go up, you're going to roll for an encounter. So the first thing you do is you're going to roll on we're going to roll on weather when we get to the actual spotting. We made that determination. So you're going to roll for an encounter depending on your height. Now at height 1, you're not going to be able to do much reconnaissance. And the reason I'm doing this is so that when you get attacked or whatever, and you have to come down, if you're going to winch your balloon all the way down so it doesn't get destroyed, 1 is where you're still vulnerable to taking damage, and it does nothing at level 1 to really help you complete any mission. So it's just a transitional height, and it's abstracted 1, 2, and 3 at this point. So you're going to go in, roll to see if there's any encounter. And the encounters at this point are basically enemy aircraft attacking you. And I'm going to work on getting a table to do that. And there's a lot of tables in this. Okay, so this is a table-driven type of, again, simple push your luck game. You're going to use 1 6-sided dice. I wanted to keep it really simple, give myself some constraints there. And then what you're going to do is determine if you're at this height. So the lower you are, the more effective your anti-aircraft is to protect you. The higher you go, the less likely it is to protect you from those enemy aircraft. Okay, so each time you go up or down a level, you're going to roll to see if you have an encounter, and you're going to resolve that encounter with the enemy aircraft. And so you'll do anti-aircraft first to see how many aircraft you eliminate. Maybe you eliminate them all. And then whatever's left is going to roll to do damage to you. We're going to have parachutes in the game. I think that was Charles' idea. And I haven't got the exact mechanics. I think we talked about it where you lose a turn. Maybe here, maybe it's not. But the idea being that if you parachute out and survive, and you can't parachute from level 1, it's high enough that if you jump out of the balloon, you're going to kill yourself. So if you're going down in a fiery ball, you better jump at a little higher altitude so that your parachute has some effect, right? And then when you get to your frontline reconnaissance spotting mission, you're going to roll on this table depending on your height. And if you roll a 6 from height 2, you get a chance to roll on your reconnaissance results table. And on height 3, you get up to 2 rolls on your reconnaissance table, which we've talked about before. Now, I did change this a little. So 1 through 4 is basically, again, on a 6-sided dice. 1 through 4 is just as normal troop movements. I'll put some more flavorful text, hopefully, here. But basically, these are fails, because what you want to do is get to your artillery location spotted, which is a 5 or a 6, okay? And the game mechanic is right here. You got a dice roll modifier. On turn 1, you roll 1 dice, you roll a 6, and you do. So here's where you roll your weather. Take your dice roll modifier on your weather chart here. Clear, clear, clear. I changed meh to overcast, and then bad weather. And again, completely abstracting this, right? So I didn't want to get too deep in this. I want to keep everything, again, minimal amount of tables, gives you a sense of what it might be, push your luck, and have some elements of what balloon pilot might have gone through, an observation. Again, I got to look up and see what they're called. So if you happen to do your mission and you get a 5, let's say you're going to dice roll modifier, you're going to not, the game's not going to end on turn 1. So this is a variable into the game. So you don't know when the game actually is going to end other than on turn 6. It could end on the second turn. So that's going to give you an impetus to push your luck, right? I got an opportunity. I don't know if this is going to be a 3-turn game or a 6-turn game. And at this point, I think I am going to end it at 6 turns because I want to keep it short. And once I get through all this, I'll check comments and see what you guys are saying. So I'm not trying to ignore you. Anyway, so that would be the in-game check. Spotting missions. So I've actually come up with some victory conditions now. And basically on a spotting mission, what I've come up with, I'm going to give their artillery, I'm going to start with 20 hit points. And that might, and the term hit points is just at this point what I'm using for verbiage. It might be their force, their strength, their offensive strength. And what you're going to do when you're at, so you're going to have a base hit at this point of 2, and you're going to have 3, I'm going to call them rounds, that you're potentially spotting. So you get up to your 3rd height, you've rolled your encounters. When you're doing your artillery spotting mission, you can stop at level 2. The first round that you're there, you're going to have a -1 on your dice roll. You need to roll at least a 2. So this might be +1s. I may have them backwards. Because you're going to roll it. Yeah, that should be pluses because you want to miss. It should be a neg. Yeah, the other ones are, okay. Duh. Let's change that to 1. Okay. So that's a +1 modifier to your dice roll. You want it to be lower. Now, what I may do on this design is and go back and make all the modifiers the same. So you don't have to remember on that's a plus is a positive, on this, a plus is a negative. So I'll flip all that around. Just as a designer, you don't want to make things harder, especially in a small game. Just remember, high is good, low is bad. Whatever you decide, and I've obviously failed because I'm doing it both ways, I'll go back and make them all one way, whatever it happens to be. So, but for this conversation, if you're at a height 2, the first phase you're there, you're going to get a negative effect on your dice roll. less chance to get a hit. So that means your artillery, what you're doing is you've spotted their artillery and you're helping your artillery range in on them or be able to fire on them to do damage, right? To take away their, and I'm using the artillery as kind of, again, an abstraction of their offensive force or threat to do their offensive. So when you hit, you're then going to roll a 6-sided dice. I'm thinking, do I want to have a critical hit? That's just a placeholder. I'm not sure what I want to do there. And so at minimum, if you roll a 6-sided dice, and I may have damage modifiers with the critical hit, but at this point, you get a hit, you roll a 6-sided dice, and that's going to be how much damage that particular shot did. And over here, when we get to the end of the game, decisive defeat is if they still have it 15 or more offensive threat. I'll come up with a better term. A marginal defeat is if they're at 10. Marginal victory is if they're at 5. And a decisive victory for you is if you've completely eliminated them. And that would also trigger an end game, obviously. So I didn't have an in-game condition out that I could play test. I think at this point, this weekend, I'm actually going to start rolling some dice and seeing how well this works. Okay. And these numbers may change, and I will do some stuff with the, so this damage inflicted was the aircraft, right? So if there were 2 aircraft left, you'd roll 2 dice, 1 for each, and then you total up your damage here, and that would come off your 10 hit points. So if you had 2 aircraft and they hit you and they both rolled 6s, it's going to be over half your hit points. So that's what that is. I didn't label it. I probably should call it aircraft damage. There we go, at least for now. So I think I can go from beginning to end and test all the basic systems that I've got. And this, as we talked about, would be for something in a multiplayer game. And it's kind of funny, again, I start talking about a multiplayer game, and Voki's got a multiple player balloon game for Verdun, which obviously that goes, that's an insta buy for me at this point. So those are the various components. Let me come back here and take a look and see what chat has said. Yes, sir. That was the one. That was pretty good. I loved how you not only showed the gaming, but some of the culture that goes around in that area, and some of the street vendors and the dancing, as I remember it. That was pretty cool. Thumbs up button gang. I don't get the reference. Sorry. I know. So hey, you got to like this, boss. You get to see some of the design I'm doing for a World War I game with the balloon operators, pilots. So I'm caught up there. So anyway, guys, any thoughts, ideas on what I've kind of described here and where I'm at? Because I'm going to actually start diving into the play testing of it. And I really like this kind of interactive design session. So I'm not seeing anything in chat. So come on, carry your weight. Yes, sir. Excuse me. I love the uniqueness of your content as well. It's just really cool to see. And it just reminds everybody that our hobby is global, all around the world, which is kind of cool. Okay. Okay, if you're like me, don't scratch your head because I got no hair up here, and all I'll leave is scars. Well, boss, you do the same thing. I'm going to tell you. I know one of the things I've been trying to do is watch other content creators and learn from everybody. And one of the things that I've learned from you is you are very much on target or conscious of the time length of your show. And you try to get whatever you're trying to cover and get it done in an hour and get out. And I know you do that because you respect our time. But I'm going to tell you, if you did 2 hours, I'd watch all 2 hours. So don't feel like you're intruding on my time as a viewer. And the last 2 Saturdays I've been traveling. I'm meeting up tomorrow. I'll be in chat watching you and your show. So thank you for what you do as well. I really enjoy the content that you put up there. What's he say? Good. That's what we do. That's why we try to design games, is to maybe get you to think about things that you didn't think of, right? One of the things I want to do with the Coast Watchers game is put you in the position of having to deal with the various native tribes, because some of them were very helpful, some of them didn't want to get involved, and some of them were actually looking at the Coast Watchers as a potential threat to their tribes. And they had, from what I've read, and maybe I'm going to say this wrong, I'll try not to, but from what I read with them is, like with any culture, you're going to try to understand the world around you. And a lot of this was, from my understanding, and this was their area, their islands, their home, and you had both the Allies and the Japanese kind of invading and fighting there. And so, they have to kind of adjust to that. And I find that whole thing very, very interesting. And I want to try to do my best to give a little slice of it and maybe educate people about it. And it's so cool to see that Vocal is doing that as well, because that is one topic that it's, I think, so undercovered. We're talking about, are there too many games in any one topic? But I think there are some that need to have more coverage. And the more I listen to that book on tape that I shared with you, okay, well, and this is really interesting with the balloons, is I'm learning about the submarine war in World War I, and how the Germans literally were, from what I've gathered so far, almost uncontested, in that I don't know if the British or the French had submarines, and not to the extent that the Germans did. And there's an interesting little anecdote in the book, and again, I'm listening to it on books on tape, where when the Lusitania was sunk, one of the bodies was recovered and was put on another transport ship, and the exact same submarine captain that sunk the Lusitania sunk the ship that was carrying the body of somebody that had already been drowned on the Lusitania. So this captain sunk somebody twice, which is just really bizarro, right? What are the chances of that happening? Same submarine captain sinking you twice, once when you're alive, once when you're not. I found that very interesting. And another thing that came up, and I got to do a little bit of research, they were talking about the effect of the submarines and how the convoys and the process of the convoys started. And part of the convoys and balloons were used, is where I'm going with this. They had torpedo boats that had the ability to launch a balloon to give them some aerial perspective to try to spot submarines. And that might be a game unto itself, using the balloons to spot submarines. So I'm going to do some research on that. And that might be a follow-up to Draken, would be the Allied version of that, to use balloons to spot submarines. It just blows me away. Hold on. So Nagewa, yeah, crazyville to hear, but thank you. No, it's true, my friend. It's true. He said, yes, they did. The Brits did quite a bit to help the Russians, and the French did some stuff in the Med. But yes, you're right. The Germans had to use them. They had no choice. And I assume we're talking about the submarines. Yeah, but again, the one book that I'm listening to, it makes it sound almost like that the Germans had free reign with their submarines. And I'm sure that's not quite the case. But they were very prolific, from what I've learned so far. And then again, learning about how the convoys were put together, and the use of spotting balloons as anti-aircraft, which I find really, or excuse me, as anti-submarine aircraft. And a little side note, my father, when he was in the Navy, was in anti-submarine squads. Not his whole career, but at one point, now he wasn't a flight crew. He was a maintenance chief, but he worked on a lot of the naval aircraft that were used for anti-submarine warfare for a number of years. And so I've always been intrigued by that because of the fact that, my father did some of that stuff. Go, go, go. I'm trying, my friend. I'm trying. Yeah. Again, there's some interesting stories that there was another kind of weird coincidence that I don't remember off the top of my head. But I just found that one where the captain that sunk the Lusitania sunk another ship, and it turned out that they had a body from the Lusitania was out on that ship and got sunk a second time. Just kind of a weird kind of thing. Anyway, guys, we got about 10 minutes to go here. Really would like to hear some of your thoughts on where Draken is at this point. I got kind of an end game approach. Next steps on this, I'm going to spend some time this weekend. So hopefully next weekend, you're going to start to see maybe some graphics where I've got some of these tables. I'm going to be doing some play testing so that I can get a feel. Because like I said, normally when I design games, I'm play testing really quickly. And this is one that just because of work and all the busy life and not having it completely out of my head and on paper, I think now that I've got an in-game solution, I can now actually play it and start making some changes. So what I'm hoping is in the next 20 days, we should be able to get two. I'll have to look. It's the 4th. I'll look and see if we get 2 or 3 shows. But hopefully I can get it done, obviously, before the end of it. Squeeze it down as small as I can. I'm going to work on what I think some graphics are. And then depending on budget, I might reach out to an artist to do some artwork for it. We'll see if I can get it done relatively inexpensively. And again, we'll see how that goes. But that's kind of where this design is. And then once this is done, like I said, I want to bring up Richtofen and get back to that. Yeah. How you doing with that, Bob? You going to win your club championship again? Yeah, I've missed Chris's show the last couple of weeks, one with the travel and just this week. I mean, literally, I've just been wiped. I've been working almost 10-hour days and just totally wiped. Alrighty, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wrap up a little soon tonight. I don't want to take too much of your time, and I don't want to just ramble aimlessly. I think I covered everything that I wanted to get covered tonight. I thought I was going to be hard-pressed, but I will be at your show tomorrow, my friend. And again, if you've got a design that you're working on, you want to share, if you want to come on the show, you're more than welcome to. I don't mind sharing and having somebody to talk to and interact with some of the design sessions. That would be actually pretty fun. If you're camera shy, we can just do a hand drawing of you and post that. You don't have to show your face. But like Nagawa says, I want this show to be about you and what you guys are doing. Hold on. No show tomorrow. Of course you do. Of course you do. When I finally can make time. Well, okay, dude. I think maybe we need to talk about our relationship. We might have to break up because, it's not working for me at this point. I'm messing with you, my friend. Alrighty, guys. Again, as usual, I appreciate you being here. I look forward to this. And I will catch you next week and hopefully have this game played and get it up on Tabletop Simulator soon. Thank you, my friend. I will see you later as well. Goodbye, everybody. Good night. Have a safe weekend.